Hey, good evening, and welcome to Boots. Hey, help to streaming boot camp. I don't know where I'm at these days. Just got back from a long vacation in Florida and back finally in my own studio, and everything I've done streaming wise has been on a portable studio. So I'm getting used to being back home. But if you're watching us, we're available on all these different channels: YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and of course, StreamYard. So be sure to check us out at any of those. There is a QR code in the corner. We're going to be talking about this episode, which is going to be big StreamYard updates you need to know about. I got involved in StreamYard years and years ago. When I originally started the show, I started it on Zoom. And because of the trying to use the webinar format and an expense to do it, I started looking for alternates, and I stumbled across StreamYard, and it kind of fit my needs. So I stuck with the StreamYard, and they unfortunately got, the guys who started it sold it to a bigger company, and were out of it. They were very active in kind of keeping stuff new. So it got stagnant for a while, and I was starting to look at other formats. But then the company, approached me and said, "Hey, we'd like to get your input on StreamYard and what we can do to change things." And they started listening to myself and other people. And so it's been more progressive, and we've been able to get more information together that way. And so it's great. I'm really pleased with some of the things they've done. So I thought I'd share some of it. And hey, I got my son, Bill, who's going to be joining us here. Let's bring Bill in.
Hey, Dad, how's it going?
Good. So we're going to talk about some of these StreamYard. I know I talked you into trying StreamYard because you wanted to get involved in streaming and doing some streaming work and following a lot of my courses in Bootcamp.
Yep, I'm using StreamYard now, actually, for my show that I do. It's where we've recorded and streamed our first 2 episodes using StreamYard. So far it seems to be working for my needs.
Good. All right, so let's get right into the episode. I've got a bunch of clips here that I put together because, of course, I had to find a way to record myself using StreamYard to demonstrate StreamYard, and that's the only way I could do it. But here's something that I am going to talk about. First thing is banners. If you're not using them, they're really kind of a neat way to bring in. Sometimes you don't get questions from your audience. You want to have something that sounds like a question. You can make a banner of it, and I'm going to bring in a banner right now. And this is actually the code that you could use to use a referral code for me, and I'll get $25 if you sign up. Now, this is not sponsored by StreamYard. I just like the product and want to talk about it. But these are the things that can come up as questions, and I use them for other things, but we'll talk a little bit more about those right now because I do have a clip on the banners. Now, let's go on to a few things over here. So banners are where you can show different information. And it's kind of nice. I actually use it because I'll make up my own question, but I've got some set up here where I want to show off a particular website. So we can see this is a website for one of my shows. You can turn it on and then hide it. But now they've got something new where you can change it and put a timer on it so it shuts itself off. So I'm going to put a 10-second shot and show you how that works. So now it's got an automatic timer, so it's going to stay on for 10 seconds, and then it'll shut itself off. Kind of a neat thing to have. Get close to that 10-second mark. You see there it disappeared. So those are banners. They can also scroll across the bottom of the screen. I'm going to show you how we do that. So there we can see we can create the scrolling ones. And that's not a new thing. It's been around for a while. But once again, that feature of showing it just for 10 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever. Yeah. Have you used banners at all, Bill?
I haven't, but that's something I might consider because my show format is kind of a host with panelists, and I'm asking them questions as we go. Mm-hmm. And I could see where it might benefit the audience if the question was up on the screen as a banner, and also help the panelist, who would see it as well.
Yeah. That's what I've been using it for. Is most of my podcasts involve an expert or sometimes several experts, and having the question, people can kind of think about it and kind of compose their answer that way. So I've been using a heck of a lot of it. Now, here's something we were talking about earlier. This is a change in the way they send out the signal. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see us in the normal desktop version as well as in the phone version. And they call it MARS. I think it stands for multiple aspect ratio, something like that. But anyway, here's a little something about that. This media assets things, I don't think there's been a lot of change. This is one change that is new. They call it Mars, I believe. And it's that it can simultaneously show your telephone. Boy, am I dating myself. It can show your cell phone image versus your desktop image. And some of the places that you can stream to will do that. And you can stream two separate streams, one with the full size and one with the up and down version. So that's kind of a new thing that they just added. I found that I use it for YouTube, and there's a lot of people that hop on during the live feed just because it's an up and down view. So worth doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was telling you about my gaming channel, and when I stream on that one, I do use that multi-aspect ratio because I find that a lot of people have found my content via shorts, and you'll show up in the shorts reel when you're on that aspect ratio because you're fitting that screen size. Even though it's a live stream, it still shows up along with shorts as people are scrolling through. They'll find your content and maybe tune in and stick around for a while.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think the phone aspect is really a discovery tool. People want to find out if it's something they like. If it's something they like, they usually want to watch it. Actually, I read the statistics that a lot of YouTube is watched on television monitors, not on your desktop computers.
The smart TVs. If you have a smart TV, it'll have YouTube app built right in. I know we use ours quite a bit on the television, and I've noticed, a lot of my content's being streamed right on the TV screen.
Yeah, it's actually the #1 broadcaster in the world, YouTube. So there's something to it. But anyway, I've tried both aspects, and I have noticed some viewers kind of clicking on from the other side. And it also records both of them, so their video on demand is available both ways too. So it's kind of a neat plus. Figure there's no loss. Just click. You can pick that choice in the setup, in the original setup, if you want it to go into both or either one. So another thing I found is, and I don't use this a heck of a lot, but I thought, I'd talk about every feature I use with or is available through StreamYard, but this one is about sounds that you can actually do. They added some sound effects. A lot of programs are out there that you can buy, but then you got to pay extra for that. So here's that sound effects. So I was showing the media sounds, and I was demonstrating them, and I know that you couldn't hear it because I had it turned off. So here's the applause. Heartbeat. Gong. Drum roll, please. And you can control the sound, how loud it gets. And you can see how I'm opening and closing these so they can get out of your way if you don't really want them. They've got some music you can have playing in a loop if you want. Yeah, I don't know if the music.
I'm not super impressed with that one. I don't think those sounds, they just weren't high quality. Like the drum roll hardly sounded like a drum roll. The applause, that didn't really sound like applause. So a lot of the great new features, but I might not jump all over.
I have to admit, I've never used them before, but I thought, in all fairness, I'll mention that it's there because, again, they keep sending information about, hey, this is something new. This is, so they do keep me pretty well informed on it. Now, here's something that they came up with that I don't use, but I'm using it today. That's the QR code. Oh, here's another one here that's been added, QR code. So if you wanted to say I want to send them to Bootcamp, I can put that in here and then get the old Bootcamp web address and create a QR code. And so it's got your Bootcamp QR code now that people could scan. And I don't know if it's something if you display it or I'm not seeing it. Oh, here we go. Show. Duh. So you can add it right to your show. Pretty cool, right? So, hey, just scan this. And it'll bring you right over to and you can test that out and see for yourself. So that's a new thing they added. I've bought a program where I make up my own QR codes because this one does have, I'll just kind of show that it does have their duck in the middle. And I mean, it's nice for them, I guess, advertisement, but I don't. So I make up my own, so I don't utilize it. But if you don't, it saves you the cost of another program. So you start adding up what it would cost to buy a telestrator or a teleprompter and a QR, a program that does QR codes, what that would cost. So you start adding up all these different things, and actually it turns out that this can save you some money. So even though you're paying for your subscription, you're saving in the long run. Yeah.
That last point is the one that I have found to be the most true is, StreamYard by itself as like, for the amount I'm using it for my show where I'm having guests on and actually streaming, probably not getting the full value out of it or not enough value to justify the cost. But when you start adding in all of the other things that you can do with it, and one that I'm sure you're going to get to today is the short clip generator. I create all my shorts using StreamYard because I like the way it interfaces. I like the output that it creates. Even if I'm not using their AI tool, creating my own in StreamYard, that's another software that you'd have to buy otherwise in order to be able to do that. The QR code, though, that's interesting to me because I end all of my episodes of my show on that with a pitch or a plug for my book on that. And that's a book that's available for purchase on Amazon. I could flash a QR code during that instead of just showing the book and saying, find it on Amazon. To actually show a QR code with a link to the purchase would be really helpful.
Yeah. And there's some programs out there that'll produce QR codes that are free. The problem is there's some tracking chips in those, not chips, but they track the data. So they're data mining your use of it. So, if it's free, you got to always kind of question what's behind it.
Yep.
So I actually bought a program called the QR Factory where you can custom make your own QR codes. And as I said, this QR code that it makes, I would trust that it's not being data tracked, but it's got their little duck logo, which is, if I'm using it for anything else, that's not useful. Sure. It's okay for this show though. So it works out nicely for that. So with the QR Factory, I can put my own logos in there or have no logos whatsoever. But again, you start adding up the cost of that software. And like you said, clips and things that I'm going to show something right now called the teleprompter where they've built in the teleprompter now. And a teleprompter, that's probably a cheap one, is going to cost you several $100s, and it's part of the program. So let's talk about that. I'm going to show, here's one that I like. So notes. A lot of times I want to put notes in the show so that I can see. Let me just bring these up here. Have some notes, but you want to be able to look at your camera so that you're looking the right way. If I'm reading these over here, feel free to ask questions in the comment box. Comment box is live, blah, blah, blah. They've actually created a teleprompter, and you can click this button up here, which brings the teleprompter view. Now, I'm hoping you can see this with the way I'm recording the screen. I think you can. You can see that's pretty slow. The comment box is live on StreamYard, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Feel free to ask questions in the comment box. The comment box is live on StreamYard, so you might want to speed that up. So now you can see it's going faster. Feel free to ask questions in the comment box. The comment box is live on StreamYard, YouTube, and Facebook and LinkedIn. So a little bit faster, depending on how fast you like to read it. It'll be like super fast. Feel free to ask questions in the comment. The comment box is live on StreamYard, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Feel free to ask questions. You really got to go fast. Now, I'm going to tell you exactly how I use this. Up to you if you want to think that this is the way you want to do it. I put it up here, and instead of using this automatic scroll, I scroll it with my mouse. I've got a trackpad, so I use the trackpad, and I just scroll it myself like this, so that I can kind of control the speed at which it's going. So feel free to ask questions. The comment box is live. I can just kind of keep up with my pace. That's how I use it. Really neat, though. I find that this is very helpful to have something closer to teleprompter. And, you get a teleprompter. It's pretty expensive to buy one of those. Yeah. Did you know about that feature?
I did not, and I have to applaud you. I'm not very good at reading from a teleprompter without sounding like I'm reading from a teleprompter. So I try not to put notes or anything to read off of, because I'll start reading off of it and it becomes pretty clear pretty fast that I'm reading. So it's a cool feature, probably one I won't use just because of my own. I'm better off the cuff than I am trying to read something.
Yeah. A lot of times I have a lot of different programs that I have podcasts. This is one of 5 podcasts that I produce. And so one of the hosts had a lot of trouble. He was always using notes, and you could tell he was using notes because he's not looking in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talked to him about using the teleprompter, and it's been a game changer for him. He's really good at using a teleprompter. And now, when you use a teleprompter, you're looking towards the camera rather than looking off, as I kind of demonstrated, off to the side or wherever. He happened to be looking down all the time. So you want to, one of the hard things that people getting into this business struggle with is the fact that you're talking to a camera, and you got to remember you're talking to the camera and look at it. Otherwise it looks goofy. You're looking, you're staring off into space or something. So
one of the earliest tips that I got from this boot camp was look at the camera. It's there for a reason. And that's for me. I think it's a skill like anything else. The teleprompter, if you think about like politicians, they're all reading their entire speeches from a teleprompter, and you'd never know that they were reading it because it sounds like they're just giving a speech. I think for me, that's something I would need to practice quite a bit is, okay, now I'm reading, but don't read, just kind of using it as a guide.
And that's why I found that the scrolling at myself was kind of the way I would use it, because otherwise, anytime I tried to use the automated one, I was like getting nervous because if it went too fast, then I'm trying to catch up, and it was a mess. So it is the skill.
Yeah, I think the self-pacing would be helpful.
It was much better. So now the other thing I really like, and this is something that I jumped on right away when they put it out, it's actually still in beta, is scenes. And I've seen this with other programs where you can set up your scenes ahead of time. And basically you're just kind of creating these little boxes of how you want to appear. So what we're doing right now is a scene. I can change it to where I want it just me by clicking a different scene. So it's kind of a quick way to go and change what is actually being viewed in the show. So I got a little information about how that works. All right, so I'm going to take you through a bunch of the new stuff that came up. As you can see over here on my side, these are scenes where you can set up preconceived sceneries. So you can change how your view looks. Again, if you want to have a background, so you can do something like this. That's what I'm showing right now, where you have that showing up. If you were going to do a slideshow, I can show you what a slideshow would look like. Let's see. We'll get back to this one. Let's see. Our slideshow is right here. And that's smaller, so you don't really see anything in here, but the slides would be over in this part. So all these scenes can be set up so that it's just instantly switch between different scenes. And maybe you've got 2 people or whatever. I can't really show 2 people right now because there's a box where I could actually have had 3. So this is something new here. On the bottom, this is where you can set up those different sceneries. And they used to only allow a small number. And I'm not sure what the full number is, but they allow a lot more now. So you can create a lot of these customized scenes. So like that's a 3 panel. So, and let me just show you how to edit that too. You go right in here and this is edit, and this is what it looks like. So I've actually set up 3 separate cameras for this one. Let me show you this one here. I'm going to go into edit. And you can see now that's just a 2 camera view. Is dynamic. So as I add more people to it, you can see that shows what it would look like with 2 people. If there was 3 people that joined it, 4 people that joined it. So you can see it automatically does the spacing for you. And you can set that up. I'm just going to cancel that out, discard those changes. So lots of flexibility. I really think that's made a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, the ability to switch around the scenes definitely helps. On my show, I go from a presentation, just a basic slide, to me talking, to a panelist discussion, to an individual panelist having, giving their perspective. And I
Mhm.
try to keep the camera focused on whatever it is that we're really diving into. So if it's me talking, I'll go big on the screen. If it's one person talking and the other people are kind of nodding along, I'll have them smaller. So that ability to
Yeah.
quickly change between different views is definitely helpful.
Yeah. And it's nice that you can set up these customized scenes too. We just had yesterday actually was the 1 year anniversary for Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy podcast.
Wow.
And so we had myself, Dr. Jeff, and Dr. Kellogg, she's done a lot of the shows with us together. That's why I came up with that 3-person scenery, because this way here we could have all 3 of us on at the same time, evenly spaced, and gave it a nice look. So really, really a great feature that I'm glad they came up with it. One of the things I was looking at other programs that are out there, and they all had scenes, and that really made a big difference. And you said you worked with OBS. OBS was the first one I ever worked with, and they have scenes. So I was kind of used to setting things up in scenes. Now this one's one that I don't know that I use oh no, I take it back. This one I do use part of it. I'm going to talk about it. It's the ability to control the volume of everybody on the show, which is really nice, because sometimes you get a speaker who's a little quiet and you can turn them up. And I also talk a little bit about customizing the fonts, so I'll bring that up. This is another one, big addition that I use, and it's where you can see everybody who's in the show, and more importantly, you can control their volume. Every now and then I'll get somebody, and you can set it for auto, but auto's not always the best. You really want your volume to kind of get just up to where it's starting to peg into that yellow. You don't want it to get way up here into the red, because that's going to cause distortion. But I can tell you, there's been more than one time that I've used it where I've had somebody that I brought in as an expert, and they were just a little too quiet. And you can get in there and boost their mic, so you actually have control. And you can go ahead and mute them. Kind of nice. What else can you do? You can actually go in there, edit your name and headline for them. If they have an avatar, you can edit that. Edit mic settings. I'm not so sure I can do that on theirs, but I haven't tried it. But that's another nice new addition that StreamYard came up with. They're really coming up with some really big ones. Private chat's always been there. Recordings. It's just a little kind of layout's a little different. You can fold these up if you don't want these in your way and just have full screen to look at. Or you can show them pretty easily and pull them out. I've got a 32-inch monitor. I have plenty of real estate. These are something else I think are fairly new. You can change your fonts, so you don't have to be stuck with a particular font. You can find whatever is your favorite font and go ahead and use that. You can change how your look is. You can also change your color if you want. Maybe you want red or, whatever, yellow, whatever floats your boat, right? So you can see that lots of options for changing it. It would be nice if you could change the color of the font. The font picks its own based on whatever brand color you pick. But still, kind of a cool thing. This is another thing, your default camera. You can add rounded corners or take those off. It's up to you. I kind of like the rounded. I don't think that does anything, but rounded corners, I like that. So you can set that up. Let's see. Yeah, so the volume thing is huge, because in the past you could try to adjust it in the beginning and hope it was right, but there was no way to adjust it during the show. Now you can.
Yeah, that's a game changer, because like you said, you can get a guest who's really loud or really quiet, and it can throw the whole dynamic of the show off. If you got one person coming in loud and clear, another person who's whispering, or vice versa. And as a host, to be able to control that, it gives you more of a producer capability, as opposed to just being, somebody who's on the show. You're actually producing the show as you go.
Yeah, definitely. I did look to see whether I could control the settings of your microphone, and I don't even know why that's there. I can't even control the settings on my microphone. So
Oh,
maybe it's something
something
that's
coming
coming.
soon, maybe.
Yeah, so it's blacked out, so it's not something you can actually do. But the volume thing is huge. I rarely use the auto setting because I've rarely found that it's a good setting.
Mhm.
And I've done a lot of, my whole career with being a musician was always knowing how to set up a soundboard, and how to read a VU meter, and you want to have it all the way to the end of the green and just getting into the yellow so that you get the most clear sound. You don't want it in the red because then you're going to get distortion. So I kind of set all my own levels throughout the show whenever I'm hosting a show or doing a show. So
Mhm.
big game changer for me. I really like that feature. And now the one that you talked about, our last but not least, is clips. And as you mentioned, we were talking about it earlier. The big shows get their viewership, but people love those clips. They like to get a little piece, a little nugget of your show, and being able to produce those is huge because a lot of times that's what refers them to the big show. So you got to be able to have the shorts or the clips or whatever they want to call it, depending on which company you're using it with. But those are really huge. And you could go out and buy programs that will convert your stuff, your big format, to clips. But they've been working on that for quite a while through StreamYard, and they've really got it, I think, pretty perfected. This latest change has been huge. Plus, it's real easy to submit those so that it'll go on multiple formats. Like I'll normally post to X and YouTube and to Facebook all at the same time. Oh, and LinkedIn, and by
Mhm.
just clicking. So it's really quick and easy to do it. But anyway, let's bring that video up. That's good. Want to go over with you, and I'm going to get off of this just to show you one other feature. Really, really, really great feature. So let me clip this off. I don't think I'm going to lose it, but you can go to your past recording right here that we've made, and view it. And one of the options is to generate clips. And what this does is generate from your show those small instant clips. And I'll just generate a few here. Apparently, during your talk, you can say clip that, and it'll automatically create a AI clip from that area. But you can see it's generating. It takes a while for it to do those, so it takes like 30 minutes. But here's what it came up with, just to show you from a show that I did earlier today. So here it is. Again, one of my previous. This is the first systematic review to specifically examine phimosis treatment as a strategy to prevent recurrent UTI in infant males. So as you can see, it's created this short from the long program. Can put it in. There's a lot of customization to that you can do. You can go in there, and if you don't like the way it's putting the verbiage on here, you can not have anything. Their classical look, minimal, outline with color. I kind of like that one the best. There's a black one. There's that one. So anyway, pick your color. Again, you do have control over your font. I'm not so sure that I liked any of the fonts better than the other, but you can make your fonts bigger or change that. And then here's the other thing: is you can see, you can look on what it was selected from here. This is what it's selected. Now I can go down here and say, oh, maybe I actually wanted it a little bit longer for my short, so I can add to that just by pulling this over, and see, I can see what words are being caught. That's really useful. And then you can go ahead and save that as a new, or save it and it'll produce another clip that way. So pretty simple. And there you can see it's going ahead and doing that. That's how you generate clips. Yeah, that's huge.
It's game changing, especially when you think that your audience, clips, shorts, that's what's going to get them engaged with your channel. If you're getting started and you're trying to build a presence, that's where people are. And that's where it's short, it's digestible. They'll give you a chance for 10, 20 seconds where they wouldn't tune into a 30-minute episode, but they might find that they like your content and then they'll go watch your long form episode. Couple thoughts on StreamYard in particular for the clips. I'm on the StreamYard core plan, which is kind of their mid-level plan. It's not the highest level. It's not the free plan. I only get to use the AI generation 6 times. I think that's per month. So it used to be prior to this newest update, unlimited, but they souped it up and they now are cutting me down to 6. Good news for me is I don't really use the AI ones as much. I like to create my own, which you can do that right within the same interface that you were looking at before.
So yeah, so where you pick out your words and stuff.
Yep. They look just a little bit different. Like the on-screen element is a little different, but same thing where the words show up on screen and it shows people what you're saying. One thing that I really do think it would help them that they could do to improve is I find that every once in a while they misspell or pick the wrong word. Like if I said, there, they might use the wrong form of there. If I say a word that's more complicated, they just pick a completely different word. And there's no way to go in and actually type over and say, no, this was the word that I was saying. So that's one like suggestion for improvement would be give me the ability to edit that transcript so that it's, showing on screen the word that I'm actually saying instead of what it thought I was saying. And then of course, the limitation on the AI clips for that mid-level plan was a little bit like, wow, okay, so now you're giving me encouragement to step up,
give you a taste to try to get you to upgrade.
Exactly. But I'm
interested in that thing where I'll try right now, clip that. Supposedly you say that word and it's going to create a clip at this point.
That's interesting to me. I feel like in this show, it's perfectly natural to say it, but I can't see myself in my normal show being like, oh yeah, clip that. Because I just feel like that's just kind of
weird to me. Yeah. You almost need to have like something you could do physically, like a button I could push during the show, because I could do that easily. I could actually set that up. I use something called Stream Deck, which is buttons that are hotkeys basically.
Yep.
And I can just set up a hotkey that would be perfect. So hopefully they'll listen. Sometimes they do take comments and look into it. Now I found something else out while we're talking here is I get a meter that shows how many people are watching it live. And I just noticed somebody liked it and it says who it was. So Michelle Burns Black, thanks for liking the show. So it's really kind of neat. I didn't know it did that.
That's cool. I like that.
It's interesting. Sometimes you just find things out yourself as you're going on. And of course I do, 6 days a week, I have a podcast going. Some days, 2 of them. Saturdays are 2 and Tuesdays are 2. So, and then this Wednesday, of course, was 2 at once a month with the Bootcamp.
Yeah.
But I really think that it's kind of nice to be able to give back to the community. And that's why I've toyed around with, should I keep it going? Should I stop it? But then I come up with some new idea and I'm like, oh, it'd be perfect for Bootcamp. So,
well, hey. I'll give you a quick tip for your next episode if you would, but you mentioned the Stream Deck and you've mentioned that to me before. And I've picked up a Stream Deck, not really good at using it. Could use an episode where we dive deep into how to use your Stream Deck, because I can see the benefit of it, but I still find myself clicking the mouse during a live show or even a recording because I'm just not fluent yet with what to use the Stream Deck or how to use the Stream Deck.
Yeah, I think I will address that because it's a game changer. As for mostly, I'm a one-man show, so I'm trying to be the host and the cameraman. So I've got it to be able to change scenes easily, and I've got it set up so I can, really just the buttons are right in front of me. I know where they're at, so it's almost tactile. I can feel what to push. It doesn't make me take my eyes off the screen to do those things. So
that's the key. It's got to be something that is more fluid than moving a mouse.
The setup, I have to tell you, the setup is not easy. There's a lot of steps in setting up the keys. Once you learn how to set it up, though, it can be huge. I mean, one button can do multiple steps. So, like, if you're trying to open a program and it has to click something inside, it'll do all that. You can set it up to do that. And it's kind of crazy. Plus, you can set it up so that it recognizes what browser I'm in. So like right now I'm in Chrome. I get a whole separate set of keys when I'm in Chrome.
Oh.
And then I have an editing software. And when I open up that editing software, it says, oh, you're in the editing software. And it brings up all the buttons that are strictly for editing. So things that really make it easy. And I'll kind of try to figure a way to take pictures of that while I'm doing it and do an
Yeah.
episode. It'll be a good one for next month.
Stretch your muscles on how to film a stream deck as you're streaming.
Yeah. 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 That's always the fun part. Like even what I was doing today, I was thinking, well, I could do a screen capture, just do a live screen capture. The problem is when you're capturing a screen of a screen on this, what you get is infinity.
Yep.
It just keeps capturing it over and over, and you get this unusable thing.
Yeah,
So,
it just gets smaller and smaller boxes. Yeah.
so I had to use a program that I use, and that's another thing I should probably talk about is some of the software that I use for doing some of my video editing. I've got one that's really good, and that's how I created this. It also screen captures. So.
Yeah. Well, I think all of these topics, all these different things are definitely beneficial. It's benefited me a ton. My journey into streaming has been a lot easier having gone through this boot camp. And, I had the right camera, the right lighting, the right microphone, the green screen, of course, the software. It helps to have all that stuff set up and ready to go.
Yeah.
And then when you get in front of the camera the first time, you just feel a little more confident, a little more comfortable than you would have if you were trying this all, from scratch.
Yep, absolutely. I always try to talk to people about just small investments in what you're doing. A USB microphone is going to be so much better than what's built into your system. And you can pick those up for under $20. But still, a lot of people don't want to go to that trouble to spend $20 to make it a big difference. I can tell you, it's incredible. And I deal with mostly physicians, people that certainly have the income to afford more than a $20 system, but they still just kind of resist it. Oh, it's built into my computer. No, it's not. It's what's in your computer is not adequate.
We've all been on a video call with somebody who's using the built-in, speaker, built-in microphone. And you're like, I can't understand you. So no, you're right. And my setup, most of my equipment is from more of like the bargain side, because as I'm getting started, I'll upgrade things a little more as I go. But like you said, the microphone, the ring light, the things that I'm using are not incredibly expensive, but they're still a huge step above. Even though I'm on a, high quality MacBook laptop, the built-in microphone is not as good as this one right here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And some people try to hide the fact that you're using a microphone where you can see mine's always in the big and present because it's a big mic. But the same thing with yours. Put the microphone where it picks up best, because that's what you want. People still rely on being able to hear the show. If it's lousy audio, they'll deal with a little bit of bad video, but they won't deal with bad audio. So it's really important. Well, it's been a great discussion. I think we covered a lot of interesting things. If you like StreamYard, I've been a fan of it. I have to say that they made some changes, and they seem to be involved in wanting to keep this product fresh, which is important because you want to keep it fresh. And of course, once you kind of learn something, you're resistant about changing anyway, because it's easy, but I'll still change if it gets too expensive or stops innovating. Right now, it's been kind of a combination of affordable enough and competitive, at least with everything else out there. And they are staying on top of their game and keeping up with things. So if you do want to buy a StreamYard subscription, be sure to hit our QR code, and they'll give me $25. That's not bad.
No, not at all.
All right, Bill, hopefully we'll see you next month, and we'll have some more information. I think Stream Deck will be the perfect. I'm going to put it in my notes now. All right. Awesome. For that, everybody have a great night, and we'll see everybody in a month.